Hello. I went for my sunrise meditation this morning, but it was drizzly and I was hungry. And so instead, I went for a walk to grab myself my favorite breakfast. And as I'm walking in the rain, it's more drizzly than raining, but every now and then, there's a raindrop within the drizzle. A snot, of course, started to form. And by the time I got to the place where I had my breakfast, an analogy popped into my head, and it was so beautiful. I wrote it down. um, it was too dark to record a video outside, and I really don't like being on my phone most of the time. And so instead, I opted to write it on a napkin. And so I want to share it with you. It's about the water droplet. Let me rephrase that. It's about the raindrop. The raindrop falls, and as it rides the air down, the rush it feels in the fall is so intense, and it collects other drops on the way down that are in it, that it overtakes as it falls. And then it slams into its target. Instantly, contact with the outside surface spreads it thin. It forgets its pure mission and becomes mixed with other non-pure droplets. Soon, it sinks deep into the mud, and though it forgot its pure nature, it fed the soil, which in turn cleansed it. Then it continued to flow deeper and deeper, when it found more like itself, cleansed and flowing freely. Then one day the flow increased into a jettison, and the droplet emerges to the surface on a river, instantly remembering the sky from whence it came. So focused on the sky, the droplet followed the flow all the way to the ocean, where the droplet met the salt and remembered the truth. The droplet came from the ocean, rose to the sky, then chose to fall, to rise again. I was so overwhelmed with joy while I was writing this. I had tears welling up in my eyes as I'm sipping my coffee, rapidly writing on a napkin. The reason why it hit me so much was because of the fact that it feels so real. Think about this. No matter how many times you try to modify water, it always returns to its enlightened state. It's amazing that way. Like even stagnating water in a puddle of mud on a nice hot sunny day will remember itself and evaporate, purified by the clouds that it becomes. And then when it becomes heavy again, heavy with what? Heavy with emotion, not necessarily sadness, but emotion, all of the emotion that comes from us and emanates into the sky. That is what makes it rain. And even if you don't even look at it like that, all you have to look at it is like from the perspective of the water is in the hanged man perspective, if you will, no longer in the ocean, but above the whole world, able to see from a different perspective that which is truly going on, which creates the emotional overload, which causes it to overflow and thereby feeding the earth that it so loves. No matter how you look at this cycle, it is a cycle of devotion, a cycle of devotion of the water to the earth. If water does not move, if water does not have oxygen, you could say it like transforms, or you could say it dies, but it gets overtaken, right? And if you look at it from the same exact perspective of your emotions, if you don't allow your emotions to flow, they get stuck within you and they start to turn. That's not allowing the air to flow through the emotion. And what do I mean by that? I mean, not just looking at the emotion as an emotion, but allowing it to breathe by thinking through that emotion. There's a reason that emotion arose. There's a reason that that emotion came from below the surface to the surface so suddenly. There's a reason for it. And if you look at all of these things as triggers of outside influences, you're missing the whole point. It isn't the outside influences that create the response. It's your recognition of the outside influence and allowing it to either have a positive influence on you, meaning a moment of enlightenment or wisdom, or even a moment of healing, or a moment of being able to be compassionate or loving in some way. This is you evolving beyond a trigger. It's you taking back control. Because when we hear the word trigger, we think automatic response. And as a matter of fact, I've talked about this before. In psychology, they only ever speak about an automatic negative response. They never speak about, or actually an automatic negative thought. They never actually speak about a positive response or thought that comes from a trigger. This is a negative connotation, then it gives it a negative weight, and it doesn't teach you how to heal it. It just tells you to cope with that and to learn not to respond to an automatic negative thought. Now, here's a problem. Now you're saying I don't have any control over how I logically respond to an outside influence. This is not true. Just as much as your neural pathways train you to find triggers as warning signs, you can actually reorganize those neural pathways to figure that trigger as a moment of growth. Instead of a moment of warning, a moment of action. It's not a warning system. Your intuition is there to give you the answer before the problem even arises. Your awareness precedes you if you become aware of yourself. If you become aware of yourself as the water droplet or the rain droplet becomes aware of self the second it hits the ocean, because it remembers its own wisdom. The salt is the wisdom. Salt holds information. So the second that the water droplet hits that ocean, it immediately remembers its whole self, not the little bits of itself, the one that rises from the ocean to the sky, the one who observes from the sky, the one who becomes so overladen with feeling that it falls willingly to the earth to mix and mingle with these different types of particles, and then to cleanse itself through depth and sinking until it finds itself again, purified, ready to again burst forth and begin its journey again to self-remembrance. This is everything. As we become aware, we start to remember that we're not the water droplet that falls. We're the entire ocean. And the little droplets of us go up to experience that fall every single time. Why? Because the ride is worth the fall. That which we learn, that which we appreciate, that which we grow from every time we take that fall. Every time we take that chance, regardless of whether or not it's going to freaking hurt. Regardless. Every time you get back up and ride the ride again and learn a new lesson, it's exhilarating to remember you are the rain that comes to wash away the pain. And it hurts. And it requires a lot of pain. But in the end, oh my gosh, it's so worth it. Every ounce of it is worth it. Every tear, which by the way is salty. Bye guys.